Dustin Young, Lone Roamer. Today we're going to be doing a Secus install on a Fox 38. Haven't done one of these yet, so I thought we'd do a walkthrough. I'll move the camera around some, try to give you guys the best angles I can. We'll be doing this with Russell, one of the people I ride with the most. And this is his fork, and he wants to get that Secus effect. So we're going to go through it, and then we'll maybe get him to do a review later so you guys can see what it was like to have one. So let's get started. We've already removed the air. We've already removed the caps and everything off the bottom of the fork. We got that part done. Russell's going to go ahead and get the legs off. So to do that, for a Fox 38, these have an inner air sleeve. So we do have to take, unlike a 36 or other forks, we do have to take this top cap nut out that the air goes through. So that does have to come out, and then you've got a 15 mil on the larger your rebound nut, and you got a 10 mil on your air spring nut, which that'll change actually. I think if it like other ones, it'll probably go to an 11 or something. So, all right, let's rip this bad boy apart.
All right, got the Fox 32 tool, 32 millimeter tool to get this off.
So like Russell pointed out, a chamferless socket is the best. I do have the specific Fox one. I've had it for a long time. But chamferless is the best if you don't want to go trashing your aluminum nuts. Go ahead and start taking off the bottom. If you're going to do this yourself, it's good to have the 10 millimeter shaft tool that you put in a vise. It's also good to have a vise. The Secus can is the same can on every one so far. I've never seen a difference. The foot stud on a 38 is a little unique. We'll get to figuring this out, but it's got this interesting spacer. That's the nut that you're going to tighten. That's the outer end. But it's got an aluminum spacer, and it's got some kind of poly material spacer and a lot of O-rings. So I think they might just be extras for this, looking at it. We'll figure that out too. No. Okay, right there. There's a good lesson. Yeah, he was about to hit those things without the nuts on, which would have destroyed his rebound adjuster. Russell's never taken apart a Fox fork, so he's going to be doing a little learning today, just like you. So whenever you do this, you want to leave this threaded on some.
Oh, so you knocked it.
And then you put the socket on. Fox makes tools specific for this. I just use the socket.
Oh, I see.
And then, no, you don't want to smash your finger there. Okay, so see, now that's broken in. Put that back on and do the same thing with the air side. That's a good lesson to make sure you don't do a lot of damage. Is you use a socket. No, you need to get the socket. Never hit the nut directly. Hit it like you mean it. Did it go? Yeah, it went. Yep. So now you can take these off. I don't know if you got a new nut, or a new crush washer, but I think I have one. I do. Since this looks exactly the same as a 36. By the way, I'm going to get the camera over here and show you what it looks like when people do an absolutely abysmal job of using tools correctly. Russell's just going to love it when I show it too.
Oh boy.
So go ahead and rotate this down over the trash. Have something under the fork to collect oil. I'm just going to go right into the trash can. Okay. Now, it won't take much. Just slowly take them down. So this will also give you a lower leg service at this time for an oil change. What fit in there?
Yep.
There you go. Just leave that in there.
Okay.
Just leave them lowers in the garbage where they belong. Actually, I'm going to show them what I found. Okay. I don't know if you can see this, but if you can see all the white or aluminum in that, that's what happens when somebody is terrible. See all that? Terrible at using, it's all marred and rough. That's actually something I'd replace because it, although it'll have no impact on the fork and how it works, it's annoying.
I bought the fork used.
Yeah. That stuff drives me crazy. I just don't, misusing tools is sort of a pet peeve of mine. We're not going to work on the damper side of this fork at all. We're just going to work on the air side. Okay.
So is there a...
So you got a clip in the end, as usual.
Oh yeah.
So you've got to pop that clip, which is one of the reasons the air had to be gone. What's really fascinating about this air sleeve is it's got O-rings inside of it. I'm really curious when we get to pulling that apart what it's going to look like. How careful you have to be, because if you damage O-rings you got a problem. So again, these are sleeved, it's a little different. So grab a real small screwdriver. So bring you in here. You got a clip in there that you have to get out. Don't scratch the Kashima while you're doing that, man. You'll hurt the diamonds on your teeth.
Oh yeah.
That's what I call Kashimas, diamonds on your teeth. Okay, so you can go ahead and just go put that away. Okay, so from here, what you're gonna wanna do is it should pull out. Here, let's point it down a little bit for you so you can, there you go. So this is what's interesting to me, is this thing has O-rings everywhere to hold it together. To say that I'm super curious, I'm doing this based on what I thought I read. I can see that sleeve in there. It's actually quite a ways down. Actually, Russell, so you can see it, to give you an idea what you're tugging on, it's only sleeved for a distance. So what you're up against is the rubber gaskets, the rubber O-rings. So, hold on, before you, is this really tight? Like, hard to close tight. There we go. That way it doesn't yank the whole thing out and scratch it, just in case. That's what I expected. So you're gonna have to give it a really good tug, because let's bring that over and show them. You've got 2 O-rings on the top, and you've got 1 O-ring down here that's quite a bit bigger. My guess is if you damage these going in, I don't know, maybe air could get on this side and that'd be a problem. It'd be interesting to see, because this is the only thing keeping air from passing on the outside when it's in there. One of the advantages to a Fox 38 having that is you should be able to go to a smash pot and go back to air. Now, to be clear, you still remove that and the smash pot just goes in this leg. There is no sleeve system, but because there's so much space and a coil spring can't flex like this, it needs to drive straight. If you have a coil that's flexing sideways, you don't get the effect correct. You actually have a really severe bind and the bike doesn't ride correctly. So what they do when they do a smash pot in a 38 is they wrap it in shrink wrap heavily until it fills all the space. So you really don't, you never have the metal in here beating the crap out of everything and ruining it. So you should always be able to go back with a 38. All right, we're gonna make a transition to the vise and start taking the, we need to get this foot stud on, put the new one on, and then get back to work. Let's get this thing in the vise. Get it as far towards the center as you can of the vise. As far over as it'll go. Okay. Okay, so this, you really need to tighten this. It probably make you a little nervous to do, but you really need to put this under pressure. You're not going to crush it. Hopefully that's not. So that's pretty close to the thread depth. That makes me a little bit, here, let's raise it up. The only reason I don't like that is it'll make it harder, than these are already pretty challenging with their threading. Okay. We're going to take a 12 mil. Okay, so you're going to take this. Now it is Loctite red, so watch for, this should not spin. Spinning is very bad. If it spins, we have a problem. That just break free that easy?
I think so.
Well, that's deep. That's what you said.
Oh yeah.
Boy, they didn't put any Loctite red on that tiny bit on the bottom. It's not something you want moving. Okay. So the foot stud is out, and now we need to install the new foot stud. So the Fox 38 one, which I don't have enough light here. Didn't I just have the flashlight handy? It's right there. Go ahead and turn that on over here so people can see this. That thing is about right here. That thing is a 4mm knot, so you don't need a 12mm crow's foot. That's actually really nice.
Nice.
Okay.
And you can torque that properly.
Torque it properly with a crow's foot, that's the point, but it'll be easier. So Loctite red was sitting right there. Oh, there it is. Give yourself a little bit of Loctite red. Oh, yep, that's plenty. There you go. I can use that. So,
all right.
Hold on. All right, so we're gonna, this is 4.4 Newton meters, or roughly 40 inch-pounds of torque. So Russell's gonna go ahead and torque this thing up. We already set the wrench. And done. Okay, so that foot stud is now installed on the air spring, and it's a pretty simple process to do this yourself, just so it's not something to get too worried about. Now we're going to go ahead and put the fork back together. So when you get to this point where you clamped it down, always look. If you spun it and you scratched this air spring shaft, it's done. It's going to leak air every time it passes that scratch, so you gotta, that's why it's really important to tighten that thing down a lot. Okay.
Do you want to put any lube on this bad boy?
Yeah, so we're going to use Slick Honey, but you can use Slick Oleum or whatever is available. Go ahead, so re-grease all your O-rings with make sure those are greased. Anytime you want Slick Oleum or any of that, just you want to lube them up pretty good, and it's just a good idea because you don't want to damage them at all. Man, he likes a lot of lube. Dang.
Bitter.
Okay.
What about inside?
Nope. That all feels good. Okay. All right, go ahead and start reinstalling the air spring carefully and slowly up into that bad boy. There you go.
Ouch.
That hurt a little?
A little bit.
Nice. Now put your, I'm gonna look in there. I would suggest once you do this that you always look inside and make sure everything looks lined up and you don't see any like O-ring. If you damaged an O-ring in that process, I'm guessing it would feel odd, and that went in pretty good. That looks good to me. All right, put in your snap ring, make it snappy. So when you go to put this in, you should be able to slide it on and start on the opposite side. You should be able to get this thing to start driving together. These things are, you're on the right side, so you're just gonna have to start working it in. These things are more challenging than the old style. So you might even want to pop it apart at its points and get it started and roll it in.
Okay.
So start that side first and then roll that thing into place. I think good times, huh?
Let's turn this up.
There you go. Yep, get it where you want it. Whatever's easy. That's the beauty of working on these off a bike and in a bike stand. So you can get it positioned. Nice.
Yeah, not bad.
So see, that thing rolled in. Probably could have done that as a close-up, but you can see these instructions on Fox for this stuff. I would suggest following them closely.
Looks like it's in.
Oh yeah, that's in. Oh, here. It's in.
Sweet.
All right, so now that's back together. As you can see, you now have air passing through these ports. That's the air that goes into the Secus.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah, before there was a vacuum. Now there isn't.
Right, well there will be once the Secus is on. Okay, so at this point, it's just time to start putting the fork back together. You could put this cap back on if you want now. I don't see any reason why not. It's a good position to, well, actually let's turn it down. It'll be easier if you're working on it directly over it. So yeah, go ahead and carefully slide those on.
Should I put some little slick honey in?
Yeah, I would slick honey up that part. So the rubber seals, just pump a bunch of slick honey in there, just re-grease them before you put it back on. You might as well, it's part. Whoever serviced it, we need to buy them some proper tools where they added a fender and did wonderful things to the bolt heads. Maybe we can send them some tools. They're only a service shop, for crying out loud. That's probably plenty. Russell's got his bag he's storing his stuff in.
Lube it up.
Other direction, sir.
Should we tilt it?
It's actually easier to go straight up.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead and take the paper bag off. Now let's tilt this bad boy up. All right, you want to get it tilted up pretty good before you add fluids. There you go.
This is the full amount?
That is 40 cc's for the damper. Go ahead and put it on the damper side, and only the damper side. The damper side always has the bigger opening. And 25 cc's of Fox 20 weight gold. At this point, we're going to want to take this and push it down on as far as we can. And you're going to want to go ahead and put this nut on with your 15. And that is 50 inch-pounds, or about 5.5 Newton meters. Okay, slide the spacer on. All right, so when you knock this one through and it comes through, you're gonna see all three O-rings will be exposed, and you'll have this gap. This one comes with a metal spacer. So the Fox 38 comes with this small metal spacer. and you need to put that on. Get that. Then you put the Secus on. Okay, did you bring the nut?
Nope.
Hold this in place. Okay, then you put the nut on. Okay, this nut's 11 mil. An 11 millimeter socket, and it torques to the same torque. But actually, why don't we set it a little closer? There we go, to the right spot. So you're not moving it much because you don't want to move around a lot because they will eventually loosen things up. At least that's my take. Okay, 50 inch-pounds, 11 millimeters. The Secus is now installed onto the fork from here. Make sure you, when you put your brakes back on, we're not going to go through this on video, but when you put your brakes back on, just to make sure you leave, just leave a couple millimeters between the Secus and your brake caliper, because you do get some play, and you know, it can be really close. Just give it just a little bit of space. All right, so the Secus is on. Now we need to finish putting the fork back together. You need to get your rebound knob put back on. Make sure all that's put back together. So get that lined up, and then you shouldn't have adjusted rebound, so just put it all back together and put your cap on and you're done. That's pretty good. It's just a set screw, it's nothing crazy. Perfect. Throw this cap on. All right, we're gonna put the bike back together and then we'll jump back on video and we'll show you how to set up your air pressure correctly with one. It is a little different. All right, so we're gonna air this thing up. He's about 110 on PSI. One of the things that's, you can see this thing really going under weight. So let's go ahead and take it up to about 30.
Right there.
Okay, with a Secus, I would say every 25 to 35 pounds, you always want to move air between the positive and negative chamber in the first place when you're setting up a Fox fork. 36, 38, doesn't matter, 34, 32, doesn't matter. They've got a transfer port, but now you've got all the additional air that's going into the Secus, and the Secus has a button on the bottom that you need to hit after you do that, and they're really sensitive, so you're going to hold it down and listen, and it's going to hiss really lightly, and so you want to listen for that when you go through this process. Okay, go ahead and push the gold button on the bottom. You can hear it transfer. You'll see there's a tiny little button on the bottom to see it. Just push it with your finger.
Okay.
Always do this. Just push it in once and you're done.
I can't reach it. It's flat.
Okay, we're good. All right, it'll pop out when it's ready, so we're good. So let's take it up to, we lost about 5 PSI in the transfer there. Let's take it up to about 50. All right, so this thing should have a real nice small bump compliance that it didn't have before. It should have additional mid-stroke and it should fight the bottom out. Secus is a really nice add-on. So that's how you set one up, and make sure you go through that process. When I got my first one a couple years ago now probably, I kept going, man, this thing just doesn't change anything. I don't get it. And then I'd be riding along and I'm like, well, now that the fork feels really mushy, and it would transfer that air, and you would just get this effect. So I learned to take my time. I started just practicing setting it up and figuring it out, and I learned to take my time, and it made a big difference. So take your time and you will get a much better setup every time. Go through that every single time. Anytime you change the air pressure, once you're done and you get everything equalized, just push this, reach up, push once. Just, you don't have to hold it, you don't have to pump it. It does, every time you push it after, it does no good. It just, you push it once, it equalizes the Secus, and you're done. So there you go. Secus on a Fox 38. Now you know how to do it. We got Russell here, first timer. He's got it knocked out, and hope to see you out on the trails.